going to go the way that the last few weeks have gone, Brenden. Are we sure? Are we positive?
I'm not positive about anything. I do want to know, like, we're kind of counting our chickens a little bit. What happens, though, if maybe things don't go as well? I don't know. Negative Brenden is coming out, and we're in for sure, right?
Yeah.
I think I want to map it out a little bit.
0-2 week. What would that do? Would Mizzou still survive that?
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to Will Carroll, who's going to talk baseball with us. We're going to get you to Mizzou men's basketball coverage at 5:30. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR to join in. Let's go.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Here's the thing. Mizzou goes to Oklahoma, and it's looking a lot like maybe even what the downturn could have been last year. And I just hope that it doesn't look absolutely symmetrical to what happened last year. Brenden, here's the thing. Mizzou, last season, we know how they really started to go downhill. Right as March turned, right as March began, they had that loss at Vanderbilt. Right then and there. And didn't win a game in March until the SEC tournament. You know what that also included? A loss at Oklahoma. You want to know what that also included? A home loss to Kentucky, who's a top 20-ish team in your final regular season game.
That's Arkansas.
On Saturday that sold out. You just sub out Arkansas for it. It is lining up, at least, schedule-wise, to go exactly as it could last year. And clearly we saw Mizzou downturn. So are they going to avoid that? I sure hope so, but it's got to start now. Like, it's got to be this moment. You squash all of that. You're competitive in this game at the very least, but you probably need to win it. I think you need to win one for sure this week to look really good for NCAA tournament chances. But man, 0-2, Brenden, I think they're still in. I don't know that they're still in.
I want to look at the standings.
Yeah.
Is my thing, because we talked a lot about the idea of the SEC tournament, and now with kind of where you are and how deep the league is, there probably won't be many bad losses that one could suffer as long as you're not playing on Wednesday. And we know the Tigers will not be playing on Wednesday. They've played well enough in some of the recent games to.
There's a scenario where they still do. There is a scenario where they go to 9 or 10. Yeah.
Georgia, well,
a lot would have to happen. A lot of very unfortunate things would have to happen to Mizzou for that to happen. They're looking pretty good to avoid Wednesday, but
I guess that's the thing. See, the scenario that I would be concerned about is going 0-2 and playing on that in a game that would potentially look like a less appealing loss.
Yeah.
Whenever you start the SEC tournament, which I still think at 10-8 would potentially still be a scenario if the teams that you're tied with, like Kentucky, Tennessee, get a win. Now, Texas, they only would need one win in this scenario to pass you because they have the tiebreaker over Missouri. Vanderbilt and A&M, those two teams would not have the tiebreaker over Missouri. So if they win 2 games, I don't know their remaining schedule off the top of my head. But, I guess, you could still filter further down the board. My thing is, it's so crazy to say if you're going to go 0-2, I would almost prefer it that Mizzou drops a little bit lower in the seedings so that they're playing somebody that's a bona fide tournament team in their first game to be able to avoid a bad loss.
First game of the SEC tournament you're talking about there?
I'm trying to plot out a way for them to land in their first game whenever it may happen in the ideal seeding if they should have a little bit more of a lean week.
That's either 7 or 8 if you ask me. Like, if you're talking about your first game in the SEC tournament being against the team that probably is also a tournament team, then you're almost trying to shoot the moon for the 8 at that point. Because if you're the 9, you got to play the 16 and then play the 8. So like that.
The 16 isn't the team I'm worried about, though.
Sure.
South Carolina is probably going to be the 16.
We sure?
LSU is tied with them. Well, let's look at their remaining schedules. That's why we got to dig into this. LSU plays Auburn tonight. If Auburn loses that, I don't ever
get him out of here.
I mean,
get him out already. Get him out of here. But
don't want to hear about him ever again.
No.
But if they lose tonight, forget about it. They also play Texas A&M. Who does South Carolina have remaining in their final 2 games?
They have Tennessee and Ole Miss, I believe, is what they've got.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think South Carolina is going to get a win. LSU, I beat South Carolina unless they played them twice. LSU has that tiebreaker. So, yes, South Carolina is going to be the 16 seed. I feel that it's way more likely LSU gets another win than South Carolina. And if neither team get another win, South Carolina is the 16. I'm not afraid of them remotely. LSU, maybe I'd be a little bit more fearful of them in an upset situation. So then I guess if you're the 10 seed, if you're Missouri. I don't really think either of those two teams scare me all that much. So I think you might be safe as the 9 or the 10, even if you have to play on Wednesday. I'm reframing as we go. I just don't want to suffer a loss to a team like Ole Miss that Missouri has already lost to. And yeah, really LSU I'd like to avoid as well. And I don't think it would really have to be catastrophic. Georgia would have to win both of their remaining games for Mizzou to then drop below Georgia because they're at 8-8 right now. And so that would be the only way they could get to the 10. Georgia plays Alabama in like an hour. So if Alabama beats Georgia, I think South Carolina is the probable first round matchup if Missouri were to fall into that situation. Of course, we're going to talk more about this Oklahoma game specifically at 5:05 and tell you who we've got and see if I continue the bit of, I've been wrong on my game predictions every single time for about a month other than Arkansas. I said, I don't see it. And they didn't win that one.
No.
But yeah, I'm looking at it and saying, I don't want to play a team like an Ole Miss or an LSU because Missouri's already lost to those teams. So if you can find me seedings that make sure that they don't have to face either of them in the first round, I think they're safe barring an epic collapse to South Carolina because any other combination of first round games you could play, no matter what day it's played on, I don't think are losses that are going to punish you. So 0-2 is a possibility. They're going to be underdogs in both these games. I mean, they're an underdog today at Oklahoma.
2.5 points. Yeah.
2.5 points. They're going to be an underdog at Arkansas. And so that's why I bring it up. What happens 0-2? Because I think we kind of got ahead of ourselves and said, oh my gosh, they pounded Mississippi State. They're not on the bubble. I don't think they're on the bubble right now. But if you suffer 2 losses and you kind of lay an egg in the SEC tournament, I wonder where that would place them. Maybe it's Dayton.
I think so.
Maybe it's dependent upon who they actually play in that game.
Yeah, I think an 0-2 week and even a loss in the SEC tournament, maybe even in your first game, although it does depend about who it's against. Like if you're playing South Carolina, beat that team. But if you lose the next game, I don't think it absolutely drops you out. I think the floor is Dayton. I think still this team can firmly plan to be an NCAA tournament team going forward. Now, the question is, do you survive that? When it comes to survival, are you setting yourself up very well for an NCAA tournament run if you are going 0-2 this week and maybe floundering your way into the SEC tournament? And that's what you can worry about. Because look, I think Mizzou fans should not feel too worried about them being in. I think they're in. But now that they're in, okay, now we can talk about what we have wanted from this program for a few years now, and even under Dennis Gates, because sure, he's won a game in the NCAA tournament, but he's lost 2 games to double-digit seeds, and you're like, what's going on? Can this team be set up a little bit better for a possible longer run? And so I absolutely, for those purposes, want to see them avoid a situation that happened last year where, again, Brenden, we're trying to tell ourselves that this year is different, that they are peaking at the right time, but it is actually aligning calendar-wise a lot with what happened last year, the way that they have been playing recently. And this is the week where you have to flip it and say, okay, It's actually different because we went to Oklahoma and we got a win there, and we took one of the two. Can be true. Doesn't have to be both. Or we took care of business in front of a sold-out crowd against an Arkansas team that is fighting for a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, and we took a double bye from it. Like that tells me that it's different. Everything leading up has been promising signs, and I think Dennis Gates has done excellent so far. This team is different if they treat this week differently, and they have different results from last year.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to comb back through what you were mentioning from last year. That Alabama game that was like the highlight of the season and the high point of the season was February 19th.
Yeah.
They went to Arkansas and lost by 7 to a ranked opponent. That, wasn't as though they
looks a lot like this year. They just went to Arkansas and lost 90-something to 80-something.
Again. But that I guess the timeline probably matches up somewhat with that. The following week, they pounded South Carolina. You can kind of say, hey, that was similar to your Mississippi State game, even though that South Carolina game was at home. It was, beating up on a bottom feeder. Okay.
Yeah.
Overtime loss was to Vanderbilt on March the 1st. And that kind of feels as much as, the Oklahoma game was March the 5th. That was also a road game. Yeah. I mean, this is the spot where it did start to downturn last year, because even that road loss at Vanderbilt to a tournament caliber team, they had 20 plus wins last year. Vanderbilt did. That wasn't a game that you probably, I recall being frustrated with that outcome.
They were up like 6 with 40 seconds left or something.
They
like
had
that.
it.
Yeah, it was in their hands.
Squandered it.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment. I don't think we've seen to this point, there hasn't been that moment where, some of your lesser situations have come back to cost you. Like, you can look at the Vanderbilt game this year and say, yeah, that's a moment where easily it could have turned into that type of blown lead and you lose the game. But they were able to hold on for that. I stressed in that week that it's not that different than if they had lost the game, because a lot of the factors at play would have remained the same. The only difference might have been had Vanderbilt knocked down a shot or not. So as much as I think the takeaway from that win was positive, because it meant a whole hell of a lot for their resume and in establishing where they are at this point as a team that I don't consider to presently be on this bubble, which is a very weak bubble. And so if you're above it, it's not saying you're above it for good. It's not saying that you are a perfect team by any means. But with the way that Vanderbilt game played out, you could have foresaw a scenario where, similarly to last year's Vandy game that we're talking about, which came a little bit later in the calendar, March 1st, we're looking at that going, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They survived it. And I think Dennis Gates did an excellent job coming out of the Vanderbilt game a couple weeks ago to be able to, you go to Arkansas and lose, but the Tennessee win, the Mississippi State dominance that they showed. Like, I think it's a little bit different than last year, just playing that symmetry game. But by the same token, what faces them this week is pretty much identical. And we know how both of those games went last year, where you lost Oklahoma and you're like, all right, it's not ideal, but they're a pretty solid team. You go on the road, it's tough. They lose by 12, so it didn't end up being close. The Kentucky home game was, I recall, being very frustrating because, it was a highly ranked team, but a gettable game that I felt like Missouri should have been able to maybe get over the hump. Like, we're like, oh, they beat Alabama. Remember that a couple weeks ago. Let's get this one and really kind of go in on the right footing. And then they didn't. And so we tried to delude ourselves a little bit with that SEC tournament win and say, okay, maybe they are fixed. Maybe it is going to be fine, because they beat a Mississippi State team that was tournament bound because the league was so darn deep last year. Then they lose to Florida, and of course they lose to Drake. Now, like, how much of the way we look at last March Madness and failure losing to another double-digit seed is just because it was a heinous matchup against Drake that stylistically was very, very bad.
It was against Mizzou. Yeah.
Could have been any other team in the first round. Would that still have played out? That narrative have still gone the same, where we would be saying, oh my gosh, they peaked too early and they weren't playing their best ball by the time the tournament came around. Like, they easily could have had a different matchup and inspired a different narrative. Right now, though, I think, you mentioned it yesterday. Sustaining it is what is most important. Sustaining the way they've responded to that Vandy game. A season ebbs and flows. I think Dennis Gates was able to use the response of, hey, you almost got popped for it. You almost had to pay for the way you closed against Vanderbilt. You didn't. How are you going to then respond and make sure you use it as a force for good to let your lessons learned not actually be ones that cost you in the standings? I would say they've done a really good job of that, because even the Arkansas loss was a game that they played pretty well in, especially offensively. Yeah. Now the question is, can they sustain it for one more week to where you have those good vibes going into what'll be postseason play by this time next week?
And they had a similar loss to Texas earlier in the year, last year, that seemed to be their jumping off point. Like, we're not going to play that way anymore. And then they went on and beat, Ole Miss, who was really good that year, went to Mississippi State, who was also in the tournament, and trounced them. Wins over Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, followed that. So, like, there were good vibes coming off of a loss that was a little inexplicable, and then they start to turn around. Again, especially with an 8-man rotation. Now, it's better that it's 8-man instead of 7, but this is now a time where you do have to dig a little bit deeper into the tank and have enough for these types of games to chug towards March and actually be fine as you set up your NCAA tournament work. Because I think you're in. Now it's about setting up the best situation for yourself because you're in. I don't think you have to worry about the rest of that, because look, if they lose twice and they have an early loss in the SEC tournament, whenever that may be, like, Dayton could be back on the table. And here's the thing. You got to avoid Dayton as much as possible. Not because we hate Dayton. We think Dayton's nice around this time of year. We're on the record saying that Dayton's very nice. A great town to have the first 4 NCAA tournament games in. But I'm reading this from Matt Norlander, who put this out. Apparently the NCAA is trying to preemptively warn teams about this, about potential travel issues. The fact that it's a spring break week. There's apparently a shortage of charter planes available. And there's also a shortage of, like, TSA staff as part of the partial government shutdown. And so the NCAA sent out a memo to all these teams saying, hey, just be ready for this. And can you get us some info early on so that we can get out in front of any travel plans you might have? Like, because they're saying, look, we fully expect that you will be at your destination on time for both tournaments. Remember, both men's and women's going at the same time too. And so they've said everything will be fine. All right. But if you have to go to Dayton and play on a Tuesday and then go to, say, San Diego to play on a Thursday, no, I don't want that. Avoid that as much as possible. Just worry about where you need to be Thursday or Friday for the first weekend. I don't want to mess with it. I'm sorry, Dayton. Love you, but I don't want to mess with you this year. Don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, because you, as much as you can say, oh, this is how it's going to go down, it's all going to work out swimmingly. Next thing you know, it's the story where we're going. Remember 2026 when the teams couldn't get where they needed to go? You just don't want to be a part of that, because it's going to, theoretically, it would have an impact on the way you play. So that makes perfect sense. And I think you want to avoid Dayton, because if you don't avoid Dayton, it means that you damn near miss the tournament. And so on Selection Sunday, you're going to be like, it's easy to sit here now and say they're good, they got their 10 wins, but especially if you lose ugly in either or both of these games, you might have your 10 wins, and then who knows how the way, that tournament game is going to shake out. The bubble is soft, though, is the one thing that I would say. Like, most years, I would be worried about a team ending on a 3-game losing streak. Like, whatever your record was, if you got the requisite number of losses that kind of look like a bubble team, that would be scary in most years. I do think it's a little bit more palatable in a year where, we've still got Bruce Pearl touting Auburn on TV.
That's
like,
so...
I think in a world where that's going on and we're, having some pretty ridiculous conversations, and you look at some of the teams too, and I've seen this sentiment pop up as well over the last week or so, like discussing the notion of NCAA tournament expansion, and people going, who's asking for this? And the answer, in my experience, has been coaches are asking for it, because who wouldn't want to get more bonuses and more access to championships? But I've said I'm fine with it. Like, they've beaten me down to where I'm resigned to the fact that as long as it doesn't fundamentally alter the format of the tournament, I'm good with expansion if and when they should go to it. But a year like this, and I know with football we say don't overreact to just 1 year to make a policy change.
Yeah.
But this is a year where you go, mediocrity is what's filling up this bubble this year. And I am going to try real hard, as long as there's not like an egregious snub, to not overreact or even react at all to when the bracket comes out and those teams that are just outside the field go, you had plenty of chances. Like, I think that's going to be my reaction on Selection Sunday. We'll see, a week and a half from now if that ends up being true.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Would Mizzou survive an 0-2 week if that, in fact, happens? Again, they're not favored in either game. We know they're not favored in this one. They probably won't be favored at home against Arkansas when they come to Columbia on Saturday. James is saying, let's just win both games this week and get the 3 seed in the SEC tournament. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's right there in front of you. That's what we're going to talk about. Right.
But I wanted to get any pessimism, because we have been pretty rah-rah recently, pretty excited about things, and rightfully so. But I wondered last night, I'm like, did we jump the gun a little bit on just declaring Missouri in? Like, just because they're not on the bubble today, and they shouldn't be. I don't even think they should have a double-digit seed if the season ended today.
Oh, yeah.
But
Lenardi has them as a 9 right now.
Yeah, and a lot of folks do. If you stumble and you lose by 15 tonight, you don't show up for a senior night against Arkansas, or senior day, what is the public sentiment about your team? Maybe then a team like Auburn starts picking up steam because they beat Bama. Like, other things around you can happen. Bid stealing can happen. So 1 is the magic number for me this week, and they can get it tonight. That's the hope.
And some might say that it's easier to get it tonight because you're facing an Oklahoma team that is similar to you in the net, but you got to go on the road to face them. And that's why the metrics say
the spreads could be identical, 2.5, 3.5 in both games. I wouldn't be shocked.
Very well could be. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR. Shane says, I think Mizzou will end up getting at least one of these games. Oklahoma and Arkansas are not very good defensively. Sure, Mizzou does need to be there offensively in order to combat that. And Arkansas is definitely good on offense, and Mizzou got first row seat to that a few weeks ago in Fayetteville. So that is where I think ultimately they win those games. And we'll talk about our predictions at 5:05, whether Brenden is going to hold the line, as he should say, and keep falling on the sword by keeping up his wrong predictions and hoping that that's...
I love to be wrong when the results are right.
But hey, we've got plenty more to discuss when it comes to Mizzou basketball, so you can keep interacting with us here, 875-KTGR. Also, leave a comment on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@KTGR Sports, facebook.com/KTGR Big Show as well. You can comment there and see us live. Lots of ways to reach us. Up next, we'll reach the injury expert, Will Carroll. His thoughts on Ollie Marmol's contract extension that was announced over the weekend, and how he views what players and coaches will treat the WBC as this year, as we get that underway very soon and get closer and closer to the MLB season. That's all next here on The Big Show.
Breaking down the Tigers, Cardinals, Chiefs, and more like no one else. The Big Show continues next on KTGR.
My name is Matt. We used True Sun Exteriors for a pretty big siding project for our house. We used LP Smart Side. We did all new Pella windows, new fascia, new soffits, and they did a house wrap for us. True Sun was great. They communicated well. Whenever they got very large amounts of, say, the front and the side done, it was just awesome just to kind of see just the difference and what the house looked like. True Sun wasn't the cheapest. They weren't the most expensive. We did consider multiple options, but I think at the end of the day, I'd work with True Sun. It's good to see someone's proposal being so detailed and line item. You know, we're protecting our investment, and we love True Sun. We love Nevada and their whole team, and I'm confident that if we ever have any issues, they'll be there as soon as they can.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com. Steve'sPestControl.com.
Paradise doesn't have to be far away. Sometimes it's a quiet walk through a state park. Sometimes it's your favorite takeout and a night in. At Shangri-La, we believe that cannabis belongs in those everyday moments, not as an escape, but as part of living well. That's why we offer 20% off select category every day, plus 20% off store-wide every Sunday. Thoughtful products, honest guidance, real value. Shangri-La, discover paradise. Learn more at ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
You could be right in the middle of celebrating a big win, and all of a sudden, bang, you've got ants on the counter or mice in the garage. Hi, I'm Mike Kelly. As someone who's called buzzer beaters and game winners for 3 decades, I think the best call that you can make is to Steve's Pest Control. I'm on the road a lot during the season, which is why I've signed up for Steve's 5-star pest control program. It's comforting to know that even when I'm not home, Steve's Pest Control is protecting my house from termites and other pests. Plus, the 5-star program keeps the pests at bay, controlling and eliminating them before they have a chance to enter your home. Scheduling is incredibly easy. You don't even have to be home. And if a pest problem pops up at any time, Steve's will perform a retreat for no additional charge. Call Steve's Pest Control today and ask about their 5-star pest control program so you can kick back, relax, and enjoy the game.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Atterbury Auction and Realty Company is bringing you a private and spacious 6.7-acre country estate just south of Columbia. Built in 2006, this custom home offers 3,100 finished square feet, 3 bedrooms, a non-conforming bedroom, and a walkout lower level. Enjoy hardwood floors, quartz countertops, a spacious primary suite, and room to entertain both inside and out. Outside, you'll find a stock pond and shop. Bidding ends March 17th. For more info, visit
Atterbury Sales. AtterburySales.com.
My name is Barry Rowe with True Sun Exteriors and Interiors. I started True Sun Exteriors and Interiors in 2010, and I started working with the Zimmer team. It was the first advertising option that I tried was radio. Stayed with that, and it started seeing results with that in a relatively quick time frame. And with the Zimmer team, with the creativity that they can help you with, the ideas, and just their advice makes it such a core piece of what we do to get our name out in the community in Brenden.
Zimmer Communications. You know business. We grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
We're back here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy Humphrey, Brenden Schaefer here. We're talking baseball now with the injury expert Will Carroll as we get closer to the season. Spring training in full swing, and the WBC also coming up very soon. So we talk with the injury expert, who you can subscribe to his newsletter at undertheknife.substack.com. Also hear him on his new podcast, Injury Territory, wherever you get your podcasts. Will, let's start, though, with the Cardinals making a move to keep manager Ollie Marmol around, giving him an extension through 2028. Obviously, Cardinal fans have some feelings about Ollie Marmol, and it's kind of attached to how the years have gone here recently. But for a team that is clearly in a rebuild, saying, hey, this is the manager we want to lead it, how do you kind of view the situation with Chaim Bloom at the top, but Ollie Marmol still at the field level managing things?
I think what you have to look at is the entire situation. Are you going to get anything out of Ollie Marmol if he's sort of lame ducking it? There's lots of calls for somebody else. There's lots of calls for Yadi Molina. There's calls for Albert Pujols. But normally you see those kind of, legend ex-player things when you're in a down phase. So I think they had to make a decision last year, knowing that they're going into a rebuild. Do you want to do that and let somebody carry through the way that the Cubs did with Ryan Sandberg, the way that the Tigers did with Alan Trammell? We've seen this several times. So did you really want to do this with somebody that you think might be a long-term guy? Because Albert Pujols does have a lot of consideration around the league. Yadi Molina says he wants to manage, but doesn't want to, ride the buses down the minor leagues. We'll see where that goes. So I think Ollie Marmol became something they didn't want to have a question mark on. I don't think this means he's going to be the manager until 2028. I think this means that he's going to be the manager in 2026, and they wanted to give him a fair shot. This isn't a blowout contract like what Council got. Even Murphy didn't fully catch up to him despite being a 2-time manager of the year. So I think you get Marmol on a reasonable contract. I think you push forward with this continuing rebuild, and you see what happens. I think the thing we have to note in today's economy is that teams aren't scared of burning contracts. This isn't going to go against the theoretical cap or the luxury tax. You can put money on the outside of baseball, and you're just spending it. You're not spending it against something. So I don't think it's that big a deal. I think it's acknowledging that for 2026, they didn't want a lame duck in there who really couldn't make moves and was likely to be pushed out, because this is going to be a down year for the team. They acknowledge that.
Yeah, with a down year for the team coming, judging him in his final year of a contract strictly on wins and losses probably wasn't the way that they wanted that to go down. You go on a 15-game losing streak and everybody says fire the manager. They seem to want him to guide the young players through this rebuild, at least a little bit, Will. So I don't know that it was particularly surprising that they went this route, but some interesting thoughts there for sure. I want to ask you about not a ton of injuries this week for the local teams, but Stephen Kolek is dealing with an oblique right now. What do you know about his situation, as the Royals have done a really nice job of kind of stockpiling a lot of these type of arms? What do you know with what's going on with him?
Yeah, it's interesting because they do have these type of arms, and they've had success with them. You know, when you come in and you have a guy like a Seth Lugo, who's been, a major leaguer, that's a success, but, sort of fringy. When you can bring him in and turn him into something useful, you see whether you can do it again. You see whether or not this is a skill. And they've done it a couple times now. So I do think these are the kind of arms that you need where you're going to have injuries. You're going to have 7 or 8 deep that you're going to absolutely have to have. And, if things don't go the way they hope it goes, they become tradable arms. And they've done that a couple times as well and turned those into good prospects. If you turn one of those guys like Jordan Montgomery into a Cole Reagans, that's a win. I mean, it was also a win for the Rangers because they won a World Series. So everybody loves those kind of trades, but you'd rather really be on the long end of it, I guess. I would like a World Series ring, so maybe I'm biased. It's one of those situations with Kolek where, a grade 1 oblique, we've gotten better with those. We tend to not see re-injuries as we used to. There are a couple weeks, probably knocks him out of any fight that he had for a rotation spot, but he's likely to be one of those long men, kind of swing men kind of things right now until somebody gets injured, is ineffective, something happens. So I don't think this really changes where the Royals are, because they've got those interchangeable parts at pretty much 5, 6, and 7 in terms of the rotation.
They do have a lot of arms built up, and we'll see how it is able to manage them throughout the rest of the year as the injury expert Will Carroll joins us here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Several Royals and a few in the pitching staff, and of course a bunch of other players have now joined up with their national teams as we get set for the World Baseball Classic here very soon, playing exhibitions today, have the real games coming up here very soon at the respective parks. In this period, Will, where it can be a little, touch and go at times, especially since they're getting ready for the season. We have seen injuries in the WBC affect the year that came right afterwards. How do you view it this year as teams and players approach it in a general sense? I know you just came back from Arizona. How do you kind of see them doing it now?
Yeah, we've done this a couple times now. The first year everybody was worried about it and they were very limiting. The next year they took the reins off a little bit and had a couple injuries. And we've kind of figured it out at this point. So teams limit players, even if minor injuries, like Joe Ryan, he's out of the WBC. Riley O'Brien out of the WBC because of a very minor calf strain. We've seen these minor injuries get treated fairly seriously. We've seen them take the insurance on this fairly seriously. So I think it's a known now. There's been a lot of talk about how limited these guys are, but I also don't think people realize how limited the games are. The fact that Tarek Skubal is scheduled for one start is a reflection of the fact that you're not going to bring him back on short rest. Would he pitch in the championship game? Absolutely. You're going to see pretty much, if not a 1-by-9 rotation for that, you're going to see a Johnny Holstaff. And I think you're definitely going to see that on the Japanese side. They take it a little bit more seriously. But, with Joe Ryan out, with Nolan McLean dealing with vertigo, I'm very curious who the next man up is going to be and how they'll deal with not quite being ready. I'm not terribly worried about injuries. Teams are always concerned, but they're as likely to happen in a meaningless exhibition game in Arizona as they are in what sort of counts is at least an honor game here in the WBC.
Will, what are we going to do about Jurickson Profar? We're back doing this again, and it's potentially 162 games this time that he is due to be suspended. What's going on here?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. Drugs have detectable periods. Let's say Andy takes something on March 1st and he gets tested on April 1st. Okay, that means it has at least a 30-day detectable period. They burn him for it. He gets the suspension. And then, you suddenly go into way more testing. The way this is supposed to work is they test you until you're done. Now, there are drugs out there that have 180-day detectable periods. If you do hair testing, it's even longer. If the hair is longer, that is. So it's one of those situations where Profar, I'm hearing, is claiming that he didn't come out of the detectable period. But I'm not sure I buy it. Is he just dumb? I remember Jurickson Profar. I followed him when he was coming up. If you actually, this is funny. If you watch his first career home run and watch him as he rounds third, I'm standing right behind the dugout. So this is a guy that I've watched for years. I don't think he's dumb. I think something happened. I think you see with a lot of players, they're under so much pressure to get back out there from injuries, to keep their career going when they can get generational wealth. I don't know what's going on here. I don't think he's going to make a good argument with the long detection period given the drug he tested for. So it's just too bad.
And probably not a situation where he's taking something without knowing it, right? We've heard that also.
It's very... if he did, he would have done that on the first one, and he didn't. Right. And it's the very same drug. So I just don't see any excuse here. We'll have to see how this goes.
Will Carroll, the injury expert here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. What's new at Under the Knife and injury territory, Will?
Yeah, injury territory. We got a new one coming out tomorrow where we'll cover all the injuries. We'll talk a lot more about the WBC and about ACL surgery around the league. We're also over there. The one that just came out has a lot about Zach Wheeler and his comeback from the shoulder surgery, and Giancarlo Stanton. He says he can't open a bag of chips, but he can hit. Which is it?
Somehow that doesn't add up to me, Will. I don't know about you, but that's... I guess different muscles, I suppose. That's the claim, at least. But go and check it all out. Injury Territory, wherever you get your podcast. Also, undertheknife.substack.com to read Will Carroll's great insights into Major League Baseball and injuries and so much more. Great to have him here on the Big Show, KTGR. Thanks, Will, for coming on, as always. Hope you're well. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks a lot, boys.
Big Show is on at 441 KTGR and the KTGR app. He can open a bag of chips, but he can't open a bag of chips, but he can swing a baseball bat and hit home runs or whatever he's supposed to do. Okay. All right. I don't know.
Yeah, I would question that a little bit, I think. I got more questions than answers at this point.
I mean, there are different things he can do. It was a forearm issue, right? With Giancarlo Stanton about what he was doing with his forearms. And I don't think it was quite Tommy John, but it is interesting
the forearm stuff can sometimes work its way up to the elbow. I would think opening the bag of chips, that's very forearm centric.
Right.
But he's got pretty big arms. I don't think he's got to put a lot of force in to open the chips.
I mean,
you got to wonder what brand of chips.
That's true. Some of them are real stingy.
I mean, they can be real tough.
Yeah. That's not great Great marketing.
Well, they didn't tell you he's using scissors to open the chips. That's
Oh,
why it
well,
comes so easily.
see, that is a little different.
I
That
know.
forearm action starts to really get to you. We got to the bottom of it. Glad we were able to do that. Oh, man. 875-KTGR if you want to call or text us. That Jerks and profile stuff also is wild. I mean,
it's nuts.
And if he is claiming that, it was because I took it back in September or whatever,
right, like you got me right when I took it, you got me the next day, and it's still kind of lingering. I guess is that okay. Good on him for even coming up with that, because I thought there's not even going to be a way to argue this one. Like we caught you again, fool us once, shame on you, fool us twice, don't get fooled again, whatever that goes. It just feels like this guy's constantly in the news for getting popped for PEDs.
Either way, I suppose there's going to be a resolution at some point, but it seems that Jerks and Profar is going to be out the entire year for suspension. We'll see what happens there. In the meantime, we're going under the bus next to a NBA player that just got traded, still has not played a game for his new team because he's been hurt, but he's about to. But that didn't stop him from getting ejected from the bench for said team. That's next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Go to leestirecompany.com. Mizzou men's basketball takes on Oklahoma in Norman tonight, trying to keep positive momentum going. Tigers are currently a 9 seed, according to Joe Lenardi's latest bracketology update for ESPN. Mizzou beat Oklahoma earlier in the year thanks to a Mark Mitchell buzzer beater in overtime, giving them a 1-point win. Mizzou trying to make it 2-0 against Oklahoma tonight. 6 o'clock tip-off, 5:30 pregame start. You can hear it right here on KTGR. Mizzou will close the regular season this Saturday at home against Arkansas. Today, Mizzou Athletics announced that game has officially been sold out. Mizzou women's basketball has one representative on the All-SEC postseason list as released by the league today. Grace Slaughter was named an All-SEC second-team selection by the league. She averaged just under 19 points a game this season and 6.5 rebounds. Mizzou women's basketball is the number 14 seed in the SEC tournament this week. They play tomorrow night at 7:30 against the 11 seed Alabama. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with Steve's Pest Control. During warmer weather, pests become very active. Call Steve's Pest Control today to nip this problem in the bud. Steve'sPestControl.com. Showers tonight, lows down to 44. Rain tomorrow, high of 56.
The foundation is set.
Missouri knocks off the number 1 team in the nation.
The frame is built.
On the run, Mitchell for the flush, Missouri by 20.
And the gates.
The habits, the response to detail, the execution, all that stuff matters.
Are open.
Drives right baseline to the rim, jams it as he hangs and got fouled.
This is your radio home for Mizzou basketball.
Cruz, here comes a 3. Bang, he splashed it home.
Mid-Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
Life has many sweet sounds. Whether it's being enchanted by the coo of a baby, enthralled by the refrain of a favorite song, or even enlightened by a celebration, hearing connects, informs, and engages us with the world. At Hearing Aid Consultants, helping people hear better is our passion. Set your hearing baseline now so you don't miss the sweet sounds of life.
Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
My name is Max Volkner. I'm a marketing consultant with Zimmer Communications. Working as a marketing consultant was not something I was expecting to do in my lifetime whatsoever. So getting the job here and then having so many helpful people around you to help you be successful was really awesome for me and is what made me fall in love with this job. Team is great. We all want to see each other succeed. I think that's a huge part of working here and a huge benefit of working here.
If you're up for the challenge, apply now at ZimmerCommunications.com.
Hey kids, tired of working out in the peace and quiet of your own home? Why be comfy when you could be cringy? It's about time you signed up for a Gymbership. For 12 easy installments of $499.99, you can lie down on pre-soaked workout benches, enjoy awkward locker room talk, and get judged hard by dudes who look like they can rip a pickup truck in half. Gymbership comes with everything you see here, batteries not included. Or you could shop at Play It Again Sports for fitness and workout equipment. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
What happens when a chef, 2 pharmacists, and a financial analyst walk into a bar? They buy it. And then they tell people from all walks of life to come enjoy it with them. Big flavors, bigger burgers, local brews, handcrafted drinks, and a game of pool or two. See, billiards was built by people like you. A teacher, a receptionist, and a cashier walk into billiards. What happens next is up to you.
Looking on down for burgers and beer. Billiards on Broadway.
Call your shot at billiardsonbroadway.com.
Save big money on everything for your electrical projects at Menards. Protect your home's power with Square D. Square D products are equipped with the latest safety technology to protect your home's entire electrical system, including load centers, breakers, and whole home surge protectors. Save big money on all Square D electrical products. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
Now through March 31st at Clark Warehouse Tire and Auto, get up to $180 back on a Bridgestone prepaid MasterCard. Get up to $80 back when you purchase 4 eligible Bridgestone tires, plus up to an extra $100 back when you use your CFNA credit card. Upgrade your ride and save big today at any Clark Warehouse Tire and Auto location. Subject to credit approval, restrictions apply. Visit BridgestoneRewards.com for details.
Clark Warehouse Tire and Auto, keeping Missouri rolling since 1949.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
Oh, I love when national college football writers make fools of themselves when discussing Mizzou. That seemed to happen with Ari Wasserman, who I believe is with On3, does a podcast with Andy Staples. It seemed that there was a Big Ten versus SEC debate going on that he was involved in online. And you can read the threads and go through it all if you want. But it eventually went to him trying to compare Illinois to Auburn and try to say, like, people that think Auburn is just better than Illinois because they're in the SEC are wrong. Well, buddy, it's because you shouldn't compare Illinois to Auburn because Auburn finished 13th in the SEC this year. Compare it to an actual middle-of-the-pack team in the SEC, like, I don't know, Mizzou. And then Ari Wasserman responded, we have to stop pretending that Mizzou is better than Illinois. Oh, okay. And then all the Mizzou people come flocking in, and then Ari Wasserman is starting to play the victim, be like, whoa, why are you coming at me? I didn't mean this. No, buddy, you knew exactly what you said. You knew that you were going to try and put Missouri in this spot to allow Illinois to be propped up.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
And look, Illinois, I guess, counting all the games, bowl games, had a better record, right? Mizzou went 8-4, lost the bowl game.
Yeah.
Illinois was 9-4.
9-4, lost the bowl game.
Illinois and the SEC, I am convinced, just like all those other teams in the middle of the Big Ten, I am convinced would have 1 to 2 additional losses playing an SEC schedule, especially now that the schedules are going to be matched. It'll be 9 games and 9 games. The ability to skate by in the Big Ten and play like 3 toughish games per year and just the rest of them be bottom feeders is what separates the Big Ten and the SEC, in my opinion.
I agree. Like, Illinois being in this conversation, and again, we're trying to compare what has happened here recently, and he's trying to say that Illinois has very clearly been a better team, even recently, than Mizzou has been. And I'm like, come on. And he was trying to because people were bringing up like, oh, Illinois has not beaten Mizzou since, the mid-90s when they used to play each other head-to-head. But he was trying to say, it doesn't matter what happened 30 years ago. Okay, but if they played today, guess who's winning?
They're going to play pretty soon. Not as soon as it would have been, though.
No.
Illinois canceled that.
Is that the narrative we're going with? I mean, I don't know who canceled what, but
they announced it.
I don't know.
Didn't announce it.
Maybe.
They announced it. Now, granted, Missouri needed to drop a game because of the impending 9-game conference schedule. But as far as I'm concerned, for the sake of this argument, this narrative,
exactly,
Illinois announced it. I heard it from Josh Whitman. That's who told me they were bowing out. So
exactly, it was their press conference, not ours. What can we say? Also, under the bus to Trae Young. This was just hilarious. Rockets Wizards. I think Trae Young is coming back soon from injury to play his first game with the Wizards. He's been out with injury since being traded from the Hawks to the Wizards. There was a play where a Rockets guy, I think they went back on review and they called like a double technical on him. He just basically just shoved the guy coming down the floor. Like, it was pretty blatant. Take him out of the game, obviously. Trae Young is upset about it, and he goes straight to the referee's face about it and gets a double technical as like he's wearing street clothes. He's not playing in the game. He's not even wearing his warm-ups. He's just wearing like just regular wear, and he's out here on the court jawing at the official. Official gives him 2 technicals, throws him out of the game. And I love that NBA officials do this, Brenden. When they go on the mic to announce a review or like adding a foul, something like that, they don't say numbers of the team. They just say the guy's name because they all know their names. And the guy said there's a double technical on Trae Young. And it's like, he had to have known that was Trae Young, even though he's not playing in the game and he's not wearing the jersey.
Right.
And he was very specific of who is being thrown out of the game instead of that guy on the Wizards bench, which you would probably hear in a college game if that were the case. It's crazy.
Yeah, the bench player for whatever, for, Loyola Marymount has been ejected from the game or whatever. You don't know who those guys are. Yeah, you with the hair. Yeah, you're out of here.
You in the white pullover. Get out of here.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that wild. No points yet, but 1 ejection for Trae Young as a Washington Wizard.
Getting on the board.
I mean, gotta love it either way, but under the bus to Trae Young. Hopefully don't get thrown out of the first game that you're actually playing in. That would actually hurt your team. This one just maybe cost them a couple free throws here and there. Who knows? Congratulations to Ahmad Hardy. He's a dad. His significant other gave birth yesterday to Ahmad Hardy Jr. How about that? Congrats to Ahmad Hardy, All-American, and now a dad.
Just think of how many rushing yards Ahmad Hardy Jr. is going to rack up, too.
Ahmad Hardy Jr. later in life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good bloodline there. Now, but we do have to get Joe Judge on the line.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Just make sure it's clear what expectations are.
Oh, sure.
When it comes to,
gotta have that meeting between
waking up, having to do midnight meetings.
Yeah.
We do need some education. That was so wild. Even Lane Kiffin kind of distanced himself from that one, kind of with like a little emoji on a tweet. And Joe Judge was in that. Was at the Chambliss hearings.
Yeah.
He said, we educate the significant others on that. Dad can't be waking up for those midnight feedings. We need him in having good sleep for football. Which, hey, I mean, if I'm that guy, I'm like, yeah, coach, you tell her, because I don't have a coach telling my wife right now.
I'm not telling her.
My wife says it's diaper time, and I'm like, how dare you say that to me? Is my reaction like at 2 a.m. when it's just like, she's objectively right, and yet I can't muster anything other than just I can't believe you just said that to me. Of all the things you could have said, like, well, it is diaper time. In fairness, so you get up and do the diaper. But congrats to Ahmad Hardy. I saw that on social media earlier, and that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. And I mean, you're talking about Ahmad Hardy Jr., what he could be. Imagine Ahmad Hardy Sr. with the dad strength.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep. It's going to be pretty good.
That's something to look forward to for 2026 in Mizzou football land. Spring football underway. And, of course, we'll be looking forward to all of that here on the Big Show KTGR and the KTGR app. Call or text us with your predictions for Mizzou, Oklahoma tonight in men's basketball. Are you going to keep doing it, Brenden? Just keep picking what you firmly believe in your heart is the wrong pick, but you want to be wrong?
No, I wouldn't play any kind of mind games like that where I say the opposite thing of what I really am thinking or rooting to happen. I've never known myself to be that way. So
No.
We'll just have to see who I've got coming.
And you can't even wink to tell the YouTube audience something different.
I do not have an ability to wink.
We'll give our predictions for Oklahoma, Mizzou coming up here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app.
Farming comes with pride and pressure. Long days, unpredictable weather, rising costs, and worries that don't quit. You don't have to carry that stress alone. Talking helps. Show Me Strong Farm Families offers free, confidential telehealth counseling with professionals who understand agriculture. Search Show Me Strong Farm Families and take the first step. Call 573-882-4677 because talking helps. Brought to you by University of Missouri Extension.
Guys, our day is coming. The 2026 Como Man Show. Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. Sports, tractors, cars, and a whole lot more of everything that makes you proud to be a man. Food and drink? Oh yeah, Mid-Missouri's Best will be there too, with a portion of the proceeds going to a local nonprofit. Tickets on sale now, so grab yours at ComoManShow.com and we'll see you there. Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center.
When it comes to tree care, knowledge matters. And Advanced Tree Solutions doesn't just cut, they care. Educate, communicate, and protect the health of your trees. Whether for homeowners associations, golf courses, apartment complexes, you name it. And it's one less thing to worry about. With expert service and yearly discounts, your business and your trees are in good hands. Call Eric at Advanced Tree Solutions today. Advanced Tree Solutions, your tree's best friend. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
Michael Agnew here with API Project Fitness. I understand that life is hard, and if you're soft, it will squish you. You must find a way to be hard. Armor yourself up mentally and physically and emotionally. Our goal is to help you find your inner strength and hardness. The difference between strength and weakness is choice. With our group fitness classes and personal training and open gym, the choice is yours. Choose strength. Find us at apiprojectfitness.com or call us at 573-268-6944 to make an appointment.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Cardinals have informed quarterback Kyler Murray they intend to release him on the first day of the new NFL league year next Wednesday, barring a trade between now and then. Arizona already owes him over $36 million guaranteed in 2026. The Colts used the transition tag on quarterback Daniel Jones on this tag deadline day. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
What I don't understand, though, if you're Indianapolis, is why you would opt for the transition tag, which in effect only gives you first right of refusal, versus paying $6 more million on your cap this year for the franchise tag and guaranteeing that no one else has the opportunity to sign Daniel Jones.
More to Chris's point, Indy's got the right to match any competing offer sheet Jones might sign with an interested team. If he doesn't sign a competing offer sheet, Jones, coming back from that Achilles injury, will earn $37 million guaranteed. The Jets franchise tag running back Breece Hall, so unless the sides reach a long-term deal by July 15th, he'll play this season for just over $14 million. The Bengals did not tag defensive end Trey Hendrickson, so he becomes an unrestricted free agent.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
From Faroe, 15 to the 10 to the house. Bush
Back to the wall, and it's got her.
And Arrowhead.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
To your speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brenden on KTGR.
So it's coming up. It's tipping off in about an hour, Mizzou and Oklahoma. So your last chance now on The Big Show to get your predictions in. Who you got between the Tigers and Sooners as Mizzou begins its final week of the regular season. Brenden going to keep picking the opposite of what he wants to keep whatever's going for Mizzou men's basketball. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. Again, to call or text us here is 875-KTGR. You can also leave a comment on YouTube and on Facebook if you want to get your predictions in. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
So after going through it, I really think even an 0-2 for Mizzou would actually position them in a situation where they're playing their first game against more quality competition, unless disaster strikes and they're actually playing in that opening Wednesday of the SEC tournament. But in that case, it's probably South Carolina that they'd be facing, and I don't really fear that team, so the likelihood of a bad loss is low. Let's get into the possibility of things going really, really well. Tonight, the Tigers, in just an hour from now, will tip off in Norman against Oklahoma. Chance at a quad 1 win. They got 2 of those this week on the table. Arkansas for senior day on Saturday. Wear your gold. I really think Missouri's going to be in the tournament field, but I feel a whole lot better about it if they just win tonight.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Breece Hall officially slapped with the franchise tag by the New York Jets, valued around $14 million if they don't sign him long-term. Ken Walker not tagged by Seattle. How do the Chiefs approach this whole running back thing will be interesting to see. Travis Etienne, an option. I want to know what's his salary, what's the salary for Tyler Algier, and that'll tell me which of those players I think the Chiefs should most likely sign. You can't bank on Jeremiah Love being there, but you want to be open-minded in case he is at 9, because I think he might be a great player to draft. Also, Phoenix-based sports show. Kyler Murray going to be released by Arizona Viking? I do think he would thrive with Kevin O'Connor.
Number 3.
Kind of some shocking news out of the NFL today with the Chicago Bears center Drew Dahlman retiring. The Bears signed him to a $42 million deal a year ago, Pro Bowler this year, which doesn't always mean a lot, but I kind of think for linemen that it still does. Started every game and played every offensive snap. The dude is just 27 years old. That life-changing money in front of him on an objectively up-and-coming team, and he said, no thanks, I'm out. That's really something.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Miami of Ohio AD hit back on Bruce Pearl. David Saylor tagged Pearl in a tweet yesterday, quoted, "You are flat out wrong about Miami, Ohio when you say we would finish last in the Big East. The disrespect is awful, and you should not be near a TV studio covering the sport when you show your true colors." Yeah, if you've heard my rants on Auburn recently, you know I'm standing with the Redhawks on this particular issue.
Number 5.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face. Slap.
Also, Joe Lunardi has taken a lot of heat for caping for Auburn and having an SEC bias, a lot of people would say. But his latest bracket one-sheeter that he put out today actually offered a zinger at Bruce Pearl.
That's The Big Show's top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Did you see this?
KTGR. It was so good. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Pulling it up now. It's so hard, too, on my screen. I got to really zoom in because he gets a lot of information on those one-sheeters. But he puts this in the final bullet point under his bracket watch and says, finally, in the modern history of the NCAA tournament, great mid-majors have won almost twice as many games in the tournament as middling high majors, despite fewer bids and weaker seeding. Now, I suppose it's possible Miami is the worst undefeated team of all time and that Auburn is the best one game over 500 team we've ever seen. But it's way more likely that Bruce Pearl will be better off leaving bracketology to the professionals.
Boom.
That was on his official,
Under the Bus.
The update that Lunardi gives. And now Lunardi's taking flack because there is a bracket matrix website that grades how the bracketologists do. And Lunardi's not even in the top 100. But I do think he is someone who has prominently kind of made the bracketology game what it is today. And, garners a lot of respect for that. And so I thought that was a pretty good one-liner on Bruce Pearl, who, yeah, he and good basketball coach. I don't think anybody would dispute that, but now it's pretty clear he's just caping for the son who he gave a job because the only way that he could get it was if Bruce Pearl left in the cover of darkness right before the season began.
Yeah.
And we're now all seeing how that's going.
And Bruce Pearl even doubled down. He went on like the Wake Up Barstool and was like, "Oh, there's no nepotism involved." And all the Barstool guys were like groaning, like, "Oh, come on." Even they were kind of calling him on that.
It's ridiculous.
It's so bad. It's fascinating. I will say, like, there's a way that Miami, Ohio can miss. It's if they lose both this week and they don't win their conference tournament. I think that can drag them all the way out, actually. I don't think it's going to happen. The most fascinating thing, like, here's the thing. Win both games this week, no question. Doesn't matter what happens in your conference tournament. If you win it, great. If not, you're still in as a one-loss team that went undefeated in your regular season. You're an NCAA tournament team. When it gets fascinating is if, let's say, they lose I think they're at Ohio for their final game. And then they go to the conference tournament in the MAC, go all the way to the title game, and, like, let's say lose to Akron, which is the next best team, probably fighting for an at-large spot as well. That's where it becomes very fascinating. 2 losses, one of them at the very end of the season, you no longer have the veil of, well, we won all our games.
Sure.
We're no longer undefeated in quad 2 and 3, which was another kind of talking point. Like that then removes a lot of the overarching, like, veil of Miami of Ohio being this Cinderella team because they've won everything. Everyone has lost to them. But once you lose twice in the last couple of weeks, that drags your WAP down. That drags down your strength of record and your net and everything like that. And then all of a sudden you are, in fact, a bubble team in the truest sense. So I think 1 loss they're in, 3 losses they're out. 2 could be anything.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, they've had some close calls recently, so we'll see. But I think everybody's kind of talked about it in the terms of, hey, if they win out for the regular season and lose in the conference tournament, like, let's say they make the title game and lose to Akron, and Akron's got a resume where, like, if they make it, they'll be like a 12 seed, 12 or a 13 probably. So, as far as mid-majors go, it's not like they're terrible. They're just not going to be an at-large if they don't win the conference tournament. I think at that point, it is deserving for, like, I don't know, the first time ever has the MAC ever been a 2-bid league, but that would be an example where, okay, let's get real. They ran the table in the regular season, lose to another team it's not like Akron's going to be a 16 seed when they win the MAC tournament. That would just be crazy for them in a year where the bubble is so soft. Like, we're talking about Santa Clara and VCU.
Yeah.
I mean, those are other kind of mid-major teams that didn't go anywhere near undefeated.
Yeah, and it's fascinating what could happen there. I would still put them in if they were in that situation. Because, again, if it means leaving out an Auburn or an Indiana,
it's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy.
Definitely. But they still got to win at least one, I think, this week in order to feel really good about it. I mean, we kind of feel a similar way to Mizzou in a different sense of, like, okay, avoid Dayton by winning a game this week. I think that's pretty clear. Can they do it? At Oklahoma tonight, home against Arkansas on Saturday, but obviously tonight the one that we're focused on. Call or text us with your predictions for Mizzou, Oklahoma, 875-KTGR. Comment on YouTube and on Facebook as well to interact with us. I mean, I look at the last game, and there are a lot of things that I can see not happening in this one. Like Oklahoma shooting 45% from 3 and going to the free throw line 30 times. I actually think Mizzou has done better to limit other teams in those categories to the point where this margin could be a little more in their favor than the last one was, where Mizzou, like, the just back and forth, it was nip and tuck for the entire second half. And, like, obviously Mizzou had to claw it away from Oklahoma at the very last second with a buzzer beater three from a guy that no one was really expecting a buzzer beater three from, and Mark Mitchell.
Right.
But he has shown this year that he can be relied upon even in those situations. I think there is a way for Mizzou to avoid a margin like that, but it is going to come down to how does your offense look? Is Sean Phillips doesn't need to be as good as he was against Mississippi State, but is he not dropping off too far from where that level was? Is Trent Burns still making an impact? Is that skyhook translatable to other teams, not just shorter ones like Mississippi State was? Is T.O. Barrett going to keep up this type of consistency? Like, can Jaden Stone, like, couple games in a row, he's combined for 8 points? Like,
yeah,
that's got to be back, right? He's got to come back to the Jaden Stone that we remember him with. A lot of question marks still about how Mizzou offensively can keep pace with this Oklahoma team, even if defensively they can tweak a few things to make sure they're not getting to 87 like they did in overtime last night.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about what you said about the 3-point shooting. The one little bit of a caveat there, at least the last couple of games, Nigel Pack, that's one of their guards that you really have to pay attention to, has been shooting it pretty well. He was 5 for 11 from 3 against LSU on Saturday. That was a win for Oklahoma. He was 6 for 8 from long distance in their win over Auburn the previous game. Yeah. So that's a guy that probably, if you're talking about Oklahoma finishing with a 45% clip from 3-point range, that's a guy that probably is involved in doing that. And so what I ask is just put a hand in his face. Try to contest it when he's shooting a three. You don't have to be glued to him, although I think you've got guys like Anthony Robinson that can play that type of defense where if they've got a shooter, if they've got the guy that you want to try to limit when Robinson's on the floor, we've seen him kind of tail some of their top guys. We saw that against Josh Hubbard for Mississippi State, that the Tigers had a pretty good defensive plan against him. So like, I think if you can carry over some of what they've been doing recently in that regard, there's a lot of reason to believe that Missouri can be successful with this. But I'm just mentioning that, like, Oklahoma, as much as we're talking about, man, Missouri is riding high and they're playing really well, Oklahoma is doing the same. And you look up, and the different metrics will tell you that these are very similar teams in terms of stature. Missouri is 47th in Ken Palm. Oklahoma's 50th.
Yeah.
And, beating Auburn and handling LSU by 16 on the road, they're not just winning games, they're winning games right now by double digits over the last week. So we're feeling really good about where Missouri is, but this is not, I think when we played Oklahoma the first time coming into that game, it kind of felt like those Ole Misses and those LSUs were like, these are just the other teams in the SEC that aren't going to make the tournament this year. Not very good, not particularly imposing. And then they take you to the wire twice by you need the 3-pointer at the buzzer in regulation and then in overtime to finally get rid of Oklahoma and win that game. Then we're like, well, that was weird. That was, Missouri, probably shouldn't have needed all that heroics to beat Oklahoma. I think we have since learned that Oklahoma is another one of those teams that has come on strong later in the process. So there'd be no shame in dropping this game tonight. But this is the margin that you're talking about, 2.5, 3.5. Missouri has been underdogs with these types of margins, and they've won them all. I mean, of late, when you think about the Tennessee spread, the Vanderbilt spread, even the Texas A&M spread was a minus 5.5 for the Aggies. 9.5, 10 was where Arkansas was on the road, and they didn't win that game. But every other game that they have been, that slight underdog, it's been in their favor. And I think they were a slight favorite over Texas, which was obviously lights got too bright and they just didn't play well. So I'm kind of caught between respecting that Oklahoma is not even the team that we saw them when we saw them in Columbia, and that was the team that was able to take Mizzou to the wire, with the notion of, Missouri's playing really well too, and these are the types of games from like a slight underdog, you're probably going to lose it, that they have consistently rattled off of late.
And Oklahoma on the other side has been on the wrong end of close margins like that. It's not just the Mizzou game. They lost by 2 to Alabama. They lost by 4 to Arkansas. You want to even go back to like non-conference play, they lost by 6 to Nebraska. Really strong team. I mean, there's margins finally in their favor where they have gotten to 90 and they've been like, okay, other team can't catch us. And they got just to 92 to the point where Vanderbilt couldn't quite catch up. And that was a similar win that Mizzou got against Vanderbilt. Not even that far removed from it, where Vanderbilt goes on this crazy run, almost pulls it out, but Oklahoma's able to hold on. I worry a little bit about that because Nigel Pack is an excellent three-point shooter, and he can get hot, especially in his home gym. If Mizzou can hold him under 80, I think it's almost a guaranteed win.
You think it's going to be that kind of high scoring pace? What's the
what I'm saying is that if you can hold Oklahoma underneath that and be like, okay, maybe they've missed a few shots here and there that would have gotten them to like 85, 86 in most games, but you're able to hold them to like 79, 78. I think Mizzou has the ability to get to 80.
Okay, that's why, because that would still be higher scoring than is expected. 154.5 is the total. And by the way, I don't know what you make of this, but the lines moved. I'm seeing Missouri now plus 1.5, and it's with minus 125 odds, which means it's about to teeter to plus 1 and be about as close to a pick 'em as you can get. The money line odds, Oklahoma's minus 115, so they're technically the favorite. Missouri's minus 105. So like it's a coin flip in terms of the money line. You can't get a lot closer than that. Minus 110 on each side is about as close as it would be, and you're one line move from having that in a game that, as of yesterday, you had said Ken Palm projects a 4-point Oklahoma win. I said it'll be 2.5. It opened 2.5. It's even moving more in favor of Missouri as this tip time approaches, which doesn't mean everything. If you did this game for SEC football during the season and said that's the way I'm going to bet these games, you wouldn't have always ended up as a winner. Those late line moves can sometimes, not reflect the way that the game eventually plays out, but you do pay some attention to that. Another coin flip game, Andy, is the way that I would frame it. And, Missouri has played really well in these, save for the Texas game, which was in that coin flip territory too.
Yeah.
They've been able to do it. What's the message from Dennis Gates to keep the guys doing exactly what they're doing? I mean, I wouldn't change a damn thing from what we saw at Mississippi State. That was a road game where they dominated. You have to remember it's not probably going to come quite so easily this time. But in terms of, the strategy, hey, shut down Josh Hubbard. Okay, shut down Nigel Pack. He's a guy that can score him in bunches from long distance, and just don't let him shoot without some discomfort. Get a hand in his face. Everybody else keep doing what you're doing. Hey, if it's not falling with the sky hook, Trent Burns, let's ease off of it and do the things that you can do to help us win, like rebounding, like being a defensive presence. Sean Phillips, if you get the ball in the post, go up with it. Go up strong and put that thing home. Like, continue to facilitate and run through T.O. Barrett and Mark Mitchell. They play their game. They'll win this game, but it is a question of how many games in a row can you play. It's essentially your perfect or your A+ game.
Right.
That's a good question.
That's the thing. And now you're into the last week of the season where that becomes a real question mark for teams. So have you been able to keep enough in the tank to win a game like this when you poured it on Mississippi State 3 days earlier, I guess, technically. But you have kind of the shorter turnaround time with this being a Tuesday game instead of a Wednesday game. And I assume they just stayed out on the road, didn't even come back to Columbia. I'm not sure. But
I'm sure they had to go to class.
I mean, there are ways to
do it remotely.
To do it remotely. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say.
I know.
Obviously.
I'm not even saying anything.
No. I get that. No,
that's a real thing.
They got taking care of their classwork. They're making sure that happens.
I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't any different than any other team. Right. They're doing what they're supposed to. I'm just teasing.
Either way, this is another one of those. Okay, you have to pour a whole bunch into even just squeaking out a 3-point win against this type of team that has been playing a lot better recently in the second half of the season than they were the first half. So
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I mean, my score prediction is going to have to go in a particular flavor, but just know that I don't mean anything by it.
Doesn't have to.
I actually, no, it does, because we're not going to tempt fate. Okay. But I will say this. I actually think Oklahoma will be leading at the half. That's not I'm not winking when I say I think they will not start the way that they did against Mississippi State. And you will see what that halftime adjustment looks like. If it's a Oklahoma 33-31 halftime score, what does Missouri do to kind of come out? It could be that 80, you get to 160 or 158 range on the total. I'm going to say something a little lower scoring. I think second half will be higher scoring than the first, though. Give me Oklahoma 79, Missouri 73. That was just for
Thanks
you
for
two.
blinking to me.
No, that was was that not a wink? My face gets all tense. I mean, if you're not watching, you're missing out.
His face is all scrunching up.
My eyebrows go way up.
Yeah, he's
Nothing
trying to
else moves.
really
I'm just
put
closing
every
my
single
eyes.
facial muscle into having just one eye close.
Ridiculous.
Mizzou wins 83-78.
Bet the over.
I mean, I think so, because Oklahoma, it seems that nowadays it is hard to keep them under 80.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They have also been a reason that the scoring, I mean, they've put points up. They had 91 in the win over Auburn. So that's a good point. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to stick with it. I don't know that I'll bet it. Maybe I will throw $5 on it.
Oh, okay.
Jurisdiction of
Jurisdiction
legality. I think first half total under 72.5. I think you get a slower first half.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Again, coverage starts in just a few minutes. You still have a chance to get your predictions in as we keep giving you our thoughts on this game as it gets closer and closer. Next year on The Big Show, KTGR.
The Big Show with Andy and Brenden continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hey, construction dude, congrats on the killer contract in Cape. Sweet. So, how are you going to get that Mongo crane down to the job site? Here's a haul of an idea. Just Google I-70 Towing. They're Mid-Missouri's go-to crew for heavy equipment hauling, too. Semis, dozers, RVs, goosenecks, farm and construction stuff, school buses, boats, bring it. If you use it, they can move it. Call the team they think you'll really love to meet. I70towing.com. Goosenecks. Give me some long necks.
Atterbury Auction and Realty Company is bringing you a private and spacious 6.7-acre country estate just south of Columbia. Built in 2006, this custom home offers 3,100 finished square feet, 3 bedrooms, a non-conforming bedroom, and a walkout lower level. Enjoy hardwood floors, quartz countertops, a spacious primary suite, and room to entertain both inside and out. Outside, you'll find a stock pond and shop. Bidding ends March 17th. For more info, visit
AtterburySells.com.
Hey, kids! Tired of working out in the peace and quiet of your own home? Why be comfy when you could be cringy? It's about time you signed up for a gymbership. For 12 easy installments of $499.99, you can lie down on pre-soaked workout benches, enjoy awkward locker room talk, and get judged hard by dudes who look like they can rip a pickup truck in half. Gymbership comes with everything you see here, batteries not included. Or you can shop at Play It Again Sports for fitness and workout equipment. Think of them first so you don't finish last. PlayItAgainSportsColumbiaMo.com.
You've seen the trucks. You've heard the name, but there still seems to be some confusion. So let's settle this once and for all. Yes, Steve from Steve's Pest Control is a real guy.
Okay, sure. I'll believe in Steve when I see a termite riding a unicorn.
Time to squash those rumors, like Steve squashes spiders. Steve's Pest Control isn't some big corporate chain, and they're not some call center based in the land of make-believe. Steve's Pest Control is a locally owned, family-operated company. From ants to termites, bedbugs to wasps, Steve's crew handles it all with precision and a dash of Midwestern charm.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control.
There it is, proof of Steve's existence. So don't waste your time calling the not-so-local guys and call your friends at Steve's Pest Control. Local, legendary, and 100% real.
We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brenden on The Big Show on KTGR.
I'm going to get to Vince's text here because it might be the last chance that we get to address it, depending on what might happen tonight. Mizzou, Oklahoma, tipping off in a little more than half an hour here on The Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app. He says, I know it's a long shot. Say they go 2-0 this week and also win the SEC tournament. How high do you think they would be seated in the NCAA?
They could not be lower than a 7, in my opinion.
I agree.
If that happened, it may be a 6, but it would not be lower than a 7. They would be ranked in the top 25. I mean, I feel pretty confident in that, which doesn't always mean a lot.
Well, I mean, they're 29 right now. So, yeah, they could, if they're 2-0 this week, they break through and they get in.
The problem is normally the SEC tournament doesn't change a lot. What I will say for this instance, in this hypothetical, you're talking about beating Florida again.
Yeah.
And Florida is the one team that I think the committee, if you beat them as a middle of the pack SEC team, the committee would have to go, wait a minute, they did that twice? And then you would beat another, in Arkansas or somebody else in the final. That would be, you're a 6 at least. Yeah, you're probably a 6 seed. If they ran that table, you're talking about going back to the Vanderbilt, and then you lose to Arkansas, but then you go Tennessee, Mississippi State, quad 1 at OU, quad 1 hosting Arkansas, maybe probably Florida as your first.
Well, you'd have to play
the second game.
Yeah, that'd be a second game. You'd have to play somebody like Tennessee or Vanderbilt probably.
NCAA tournament team, handily, and then Florida, and then Bama.
Well, it would actually be flipped. It would be Bama first because you'd be the 3, so you'd probably get Bama and then Florida in the final.
That's right. If they win out, they're locked into the.
They are the 3 no matter what.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
they'd be a 6 seed. It's a good question. I hope we have to keep talking.
I don't know if I would keep them from 5 either. That's possible.
Yeah, it's hard to do. It's hard to go from bubble a week ago to now you're a 5, 2.5 weeks later. But it would be justified if it happened. Yeah,
I thought I for sure thought they were going to be a 7 or an 8 last year, and they ended up being a 6. I think the committee kind of likes, a little bump to the SEC a little bit.
They would be the talk of the sport if they did that. If they win 2 this week and cut the Nets down in Nashville. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see
they gotta win tonight, though.
If that was our last. Yeah, I made sure to get that in before anything happened tonight.
79-73. I said it.
Make sure you heard him. What he actually said.
Get the voodoo out of here.
Yeah.
Should be a good game tonight.
Yeah, coverage starting in about a minute or so from Mike Kelly and Chris Gervino on the call from the Tiger Radio Network, Mizzou at Oklahoma. Tips off at 6. We'll talk about it tomorrow at 4. He's Brenden. I'm Andy. We're done for now.